Hey everybody, it's me, TMD. And what I got here, rotate your device, you can't turn. Okay, anyway. I know that I'm out of the picture here. I know that the engine's in, and that's the important thing. What I thought I'd do for you guys today is show you what these look like on the inside. So this is a tear down that I'm doing because the guy piled up a piston. Not super bad, but enough to cause issues while it's running. So without further ado, let's start taking stuff off. And I will try and get everyone's comments if I see them. And again, it's turned with a live video. Like, jeepers creepers, people! I'll never get this figured out. Let's try this look. Is this gonna work? All right, just give it a sec. Give it a sec. There we go. All right, now if I get down to the chat on my computer here. Now I'm gonna mute this. All right, there we go. Now I can see the comments on the side and we're ready to go. So let's go ahead and rip this guy apart. So this particular engine had been at a few other dealers since 2013 in an attempt to get it to work properly. So it blew okay numbers for compression, but kept flooding out. So they kept changing needle and seats and so on and so forth, and floats, redoing the carburetors. Basically, they were hunting for something that they really didn't know what they were hunting for. And keep in mind, they were professional guys. They weren't backyard guys that just, hey, I've worked on an engine before. So I was at an advantage when it showed up because I saw the history of the repair. And each time the guy took it in, they told him it worked, but it didn't work. So they did all that carburetor work and whatnot, and it wouldn't work. So I knew for sure I wasn't going after the carburetors. So I initially did compression tests on it and found compression, well, it seemed to be okay. But, now hear me out, the guy had winterized it last year, so it was full of oil, so I wasn't going to get proper readings anyway. So without those proper readings, I wasn't able to determine much by the compression readings. So what I decided to do was, initially I was going to put it on the dyno and just run it and see what I come up with. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to do something that the other guys hadn't done. I'm just going to pop the heads off and take a look. And sure enough, by popping the heads off, I found that hit a broken ring. Oh, excuse me. Better shut that off. So because I am at work, if I have to disappear because a customer shows up, I have to disappear. It is what it is, and it is. I know, everyone's cringing. What the Sam hell is he doing? Does he have all the bolts out? Looks like he thinks he does. All right, so that's giving me grief. So the trick is, and I'm sure you guys have seen this done before, what I'm gonna do is put a screwdriver in there. But the screwdriver is gonna go in and it's going to split the gasket and not touch the aluminum. Is the idea behind that. Well, it's a super thin gasket on this. This trick may not work. Might work on the back half. May not work here. There it goes. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's all. So it should be coming. It's just being silly. There we go. So no damage to the aluminum. And I've got an identical engine to this on the floor, so I need to be careful where I'm sticking this stuff. I don't want to mix up parts. I will grab a box. I'll be right back. That's just kind of neat out of the box and cleaning it out. All right, so we got one more bolt to take off, and then the exhaust is off. So I'm able to use the power tools and whatnot because I'm not dealing with salt water. Oh, this one fell off. Holy. There's a mess for you. So definitely some fuel going through there, some carbon building up over time. Do we have any water getting in there? I don't think I see any signs of water. No. So box it. Again, making sure it stays separate from the other engine. All right, there you guys can take a look at that. That's where the exhaust comes out. So I'm going to go take the transfer port covers off. So this is where the fuel actually makes it to the piston, is through these covers, or what's underneath these covers, I guess. Again, for those that are cringing, it's not saltwater use. These are easily coming off. I'm not risking breaking anything. Doesn't mean I've never broken one, but I'm quite confident these will hold up. So all the bolts are out. Give it a little bit of a tweak. And a pull. There we go. That's one. I'll show you guys this right away here. Okay, so that's all there. Into the box. This one actually has a hose that goes on it, and that should be a bleeder hose. So excessive fuel that pools in there, it should pull it out. I believe is what that job is. All right, I'll give it a spin, and you can, if the camera's set up okay, because I'm not going to move the camera. Take a look at what that looks like, maybe. Kind of, sort of. What if I throw a light at it for you? It's a bit better. So you can see the ports where the fuel gets in. And quickly off to the other side here. Same thing. So obviously we want to get in here and out of here as quick as we can because time is money. So that's another reason why I go with the tools that I do. I don't have time to hand bomb all of these off. I've got too many other projects on the go. I've got a Mercury over there, the head is off that I need to replace the head gasket on. I've got an intake over there from a Mercury 175 that broke a reed. So I've got a lot of things on the go, and I don't really have time to mess around. Putting it together is a bit of a different story. Obviously, you've got to take your time because you don't want to be missing steps and having to repeat things and take them apart again and so on and so forth just because you missed a bearing or something. Or a roller, I should say. I'm not going to miss a bearing. If I miss a bearing, I'm having a really bad day. All right, can I get in here and pop this one off? There we go. And one more. All right. This one's dropping a lot of oil or fuel out of it, so I'm going to clean that up right away rather than stand here and smell it. Inhale it. I don't want to be that guy. Okay. Carburetors. So again, it's all about speed. Switching up tools. parts I need for my tool. Maybe I'm doing this one by hand. Where did that other piece go? Oh, there it is. On the vise. Who would have thought? Oh, whoops. Too small. There it is. Somebody made those too tight. I guess they didn't want the carburetors falling off. Okay, 4 bolts hold them all. Allen heads. Simple enough. Really. So I'm going to keep the intake bolts all together so that when I put it back together, they've got their own little case that I can take them out of. Again, saving time. Now, this one was giving me a bit of grief, so it's going to come out the old-fashioned way. Old-fashioned way was this. What's going on here? There we go. Now it's going to bite. Nope, it's not. What the heck? Nope, it won't come with that. More pressure. Holy heck! What have they done with this thing? There we go. My goodness, I had to use an actual Allen wrench. All right, there's the carburetors, carburetor primer, and an oil pump all at the same time. So I'm just going to move these aside. I will drain them later. Now on to the intake. So we're getting pretty close to seeing how the pistons and crank are in place. I've got a couple more things to take off, but we're slowly getting there, or maybe speedily getting there. Keep it together. That was the shifter I had to move out of the way. All right, so we've got one left down here, two left, I guess. So I guess a good idea would be to maybe count these before taking them off so that you've got an idea that you're getting them all. But I typically don't do it that way. I'm kind of stubborn. I'll look at it 10 or 12 times after just to make sure they're all off. All right, now this shifting and throttle apparatus on the side here. Again, power. So I'm hoping that what I can do with this video after I'm done here is take it and throw it up on YouTube. I think I can download it off of Facebook once it's done. So I probably could have left this intact, but rather than risk breaking all the plastic when I'm messing around with other stuff, I'd rather just move it completely out of the way. Okay, try and keep the bolts with the individual parts in the box. Put that away. All right, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip it over on its backside so that I can finish up with. Well, actually, no, sorry, let me start over. I'm going to take the intake off and then flip it over to its backside. Re-verify all the bolts are out. It should be. Doesn't do anything. What's going on here? Oh, well, look at that. I guess that's why it's all black. So I can't see. So whenever you're attempting to take something off like this, you're never swinging hard. Believe me, you don't want to break anything you're not supposed to break. Well, no, let me rephrase that. You don't want to break anything, period. You're not supposed to break anything. So, we'll take a good look at the reeds here. They all appear fine. I can. Okay. They're all intact. I would, later on, I'll hold the light up behind them and look through them and see if I can see any daylight. If I can see a considerable amount of daylight, then I would change them out. But we need to stay reasonable when we're doing rebuilds. You could always go in there and replace everything, but is a customer going to want you to really do that? I guess maybe the odd guy might want you to do that, but they want to save money too. That's why they're doing it. Okay. Sorry, I gotta clean up my hands. I got oil on them. All right. Crank half. Again, I'm going to put these bolts with the intake bolts. So it's kind of an interesting way to do a video like this, rather than rehearsing everything and having the perfect storm going on all at the same time, because it's not the way it goes, folks. I even missed that one bolt, and I told you, I even reminded myself, this is what I'm doing, this is why I'm doing it, and still missed it. So while I got this here, I'm just going to quickly take off the bottom carrier. I'll spin it. Take off the top carrier, or I should say I'm taking the bolts out. The top carrier is not going to come off yet. Neither is the bottom one, really, because they're still under pressure from the crankcase. Okay, I got, I think it's 6 bolts left. So I've got a socket here that's been through the war a few times and welded and so on and so forth. And I'm going to switch over to gloves to do this now, so I don't get hurt. Bought at Home Depot. Great gloves to use. They've got leather palms, fabric behind on the back side. they don't repel oil and whatnot all that well, so they're, I like to think of them as disposable gloves. But it beats going out and spending a ton of money on expensive gloves, and they're going to end up the same way, throwing them out. All right. Uh-oh. So these are supposed to have a torque value, guys, and I believe it's around 30. I always double check, even though I do a lot of these, I always go back to the book, always, to make sure that my torque values are right. But that first one didn't feel like it was right. Why does this give me so much grief? Yeah, I shouldn't, I should be having to pull on these pretty hard, and I'm not having to. I'm not going to say that that caused an issue or why the engine went down. I'm just saying that they're not very tight. Normally what I have to do is hold against here so that nothing moves, and you can just see I'm slightly moving my arm and they're coming off. All right, 2 left. Yeah, these feel more like 18 is what they feel like. They're not tight at all. Look at that, look at that. I squeezed my hand and it came out. Perhaps that is the recommendation for this particular engine. And again, that's why I would go to the book. All right, I know you're out, but why aren't you coming out the rest of the way? Let's go. I got some gasket material in the way. There we go. Gasket wanted to come with it. All right, and that guy. Make it. Okay, so now I've got the pins left. There's one there. The pins can sometimes be a bear to get out. Hopefully not today. I don't want to be spending 5 minutes taking these pins out on camera. Gave up on that thing. I need something bigger. I was doing a rebuild on a 140 one time, and must have taken 15 minutes to get one pin out. It just didn't agree. There we go, that's one. Now, is that all we have in this guy? Is what have they done here? Why is there tape over this? That would have been awkward. Let's see if I can stand this one up. And if you can see, the pin goes through here. So what I'm actually using is an extension. And then I'll finish it off with a punch. So I just want to get that much of a flat surface against it initially. There it goes. COVID mask. Or anti-COVID mask. All right, on its back side again. I've got the carrier bolts out. I've got double checking. Remember, we don't want an incident like the intake, do we? Those. goes. I'm going to pull the gasket off because the gasket's going to cause issues. Base gasket all carboned up. So definitely too much fuel was going by or through. All right. And there we go, folks. That's what it's starting to look like on the inside. So we've got sealing surfaces in here that seal the cylinders from one another. And that's done with steel rings so that they can all operate independent of one another. Okay, so that's out of the way. Now I'm going to get individual boxes because I'm going to start pulling pistons. I'll put 2 pistons into each bin. These are from Home Depot. My wife works there and she picks them up for me. Great things to use. Socket, 5/16. 5/16, 12 points. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, where did that go? So we ended up buying a special socket to do this with because the chrome ones seem to break. Maybe it's inside the toolbox instead of on top. Oh, no, we do have a chrome one. My mistake. We had the black ones. The black ones are gone. All right, these guys are going to be tight. Or they better be anyway. Oh my goodness. Shortcuts. Too many shortcuts I'm trying. All right, so I'm going to take and brace it and give it a hit. There's a lot of sharp stuff in here, so that is why I switched over to gloves. And the last thing I want to do is cut up my fingers on here. And that's another reason why I'm hitting with my hand to give it a jar rather than just pushing it or pulling on it. Because when they let go, your hand's going to accelerate and you're gonna cut it on something. Okay, so this is going to be cylinder number, it's higher than this one, and this is the bottom, so this is going to be number 3 that I'm taking off first. So, some roller bearings. I'm going to give it a push. Piston fell out of there, super easy. These pistons, I think, are going to be in fairly decent shape. So machine shop is going to measure up this block, and then the machine shop is going to tell me whether or not we're going to oversize the cylinders or not. If we don't need to, then I'm not going to. I'll just re-ring it and put it back together. But judging by the way it came out and as sloppy as the amount of fuel that's in here, I think there's quite a bit of wear there. Oh, marker. I'm going to take and mark this. There's a marker. So this was number 3. I'm just going to put a number 3 on the rod so that I return it to its original position. And caps and whatnot, caps are specific to the rods, folks. They have to line up properly or you're going to have issues. Well, you're gonna ruin the engine when you put it back together and run it. Actually, let me drop these in there. Okay, on to the next one. Again, gloves. And we're going to go after number 4, yeah. Gloves off, so I can get a better grip on things here. So number 4 is going to go in the same bin as number 3. I'm just going to have them opposing one another. And you can write the number on the cap as well as the rod. But normally when I set these down, they stay. No one comes in and kicks my bins around and stuff like that. And anyway, if that was the case where they did get mixed up, like I said, they only go together one way, and you can definitely tell when they're wrong because the caps won't line up properly. So I don't know if you guys are going to see this, but they break them so that you'll have a jagged edge here, and then that jagged edge will line up with the jagged edge that's on this, so that they only go together one way. So again, with this one out, and knowing that it's number 4, I'm going to take the Sharpie and put a 4 on there. If I was going to replace the pistons 100%, for example, I would put them in the vise with a punch and just take and knock little dents into them. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. So then there'd be no way of mixing them up at all. But I've done this enough and I'm fairly confident with the way I'm doing it right now that it's fine. So I'm just going to put these underneath the bench so that they're out of the way. And on to 1 and 2. Folks, we are almost done this. You guys are seeing what's inside an engine, and that's fantastic. I know that it's a little bit different than what we see in the automotive world. Well, other than the fact that it's pistons, but we work a little bit different with 2-stroke than 4-stroke. I do work on 4 strokes as well, and that was that head that I mentioned. This aluminum head, that's off of a 4-stroke. That blew a head gasket, was dumping a bunch of oil water into his crankcase, into his sump, and then moving it through the engine. Interesting test for that. I believe I put up a video, or did I? No, I talked about a video maybe. Anyway, you take the spark plugs out, and you take and drain the oil out of it. You take the gear case off, and you hook a water hose up to the bottom of the water intake, and you turn it on, and you see where the water comes out. And then that's the part you go after. That filled the number 1 cylinder is what it did. Okay, open up another bin. So these bins are clean. I clean them when I'm done, so that I don't have cross-contamination of dirt and whatnot getting into pistons and bearings and so on and so forth. All right, so this was the bad one. I believe that's number 1. It was bad. Come on. There. So it isn't super bad, but that's enough to ruin someone's day. And can you read it? There, now you can see that. There we go. Block that light out from behind me. There you go. Anyway, so that's number 1. That's the piston that had gone down. That was the piston that had been missed by everybody. I guess we're missing probably 2/3 of that top ring is what we're missing. So we just have a piston there that's probably pulling fuel in and, well, running it out the exhaust into the water. Okay, I'm missing 1 bearing here. Where did that get to? There it is. So this piston will need to be replaced 100%. Folks, you do not have to change pistons all the time. You do not. Don't let anyone tell you you have to, because you do not. You also do not have to bore them all the same. You can have different sizes. The pistons are all balanced and whatnot now, so they weigh the same, so you're not getting more material or less material with one versus the other, and they run perfectly fine if you've got 3 at standard and 1 at 40 over. You don't need to throw extra fuel at it. It's not that much of a difference. I do get asked by people that get oversized, am I going to have more power? And well, the answer is, well, yes and no. Yes, compared to the way it's running now. No, when it was brand new. It's not going to make that much difference. We got to add more air and more fuel in order to get more power, and that's not what we're doing. All right, so that'll be number 2. And it looks like I've been delinquent with phone calls. So whoops, sorry folks. I'm going to have to make those phone calls back right away. So number 2, again, the piston looks okay. We're not seeing a lot of piston slap and whatnot. So we're going to clean it off. This one gets a number 2. Goes in the bin. Picked up and put the other Okay, so those that you don't know, this is 115 Johnson. I think it's around 1996, 97, somewhere in there. Had been at another dealership or another few dealerships in an effort to find out why it wasn't running properly, and they went after the needle and seats and the carburetors, they went after the primer, they went after the VRO, they added a 17 pitch prop, they put on a hydrofoil, and what they should have done was took the head off like I did. And, oops. Just a tool. Just a tool. Nothing to do with the engine, folks. Okay, I'm just cleaning out the excessive fuel that's in here. So, yeah. Again, I'll block the lights so you guys can see this. This is the fuel I'm taking or wiping out of here. So, the next step for this engine is I finish up taking little things off of it. And I'm going to take it in, like I said before, to the machine shop. They're going to measure it up and let me know what kind of shape it's in, and then we'll discuss pistons and whatnot after that. One last thing I think I can show you guys, I did mention the seals in between the cylinders are steel rings. And let's stand this guy up and we can see them here. So this ring that I'm pushing on here, or all of these rings, that's what seals the individual seals the individual cylinders from one another. Again, folks, doing this live is a little tougher than doing retakes and whatnot, and I apologize for the errors and the mistakes, but you can see exactly what goes on when this is all being done. Some mistakes that get made along the way, bolts obviously got left in and so on and so forth that I missed and had to take out. But all in all, it went pretty good. It went pretty good. I want to just take a look at number 1 here, because that was the cylinder. So all the cylinders still have decent cross-hatching in them, but we can see shades, and unfortunately I don't know if you guys are going to see that. Maybe I'll move the camera so you guys can see that. Shading inside the cylinder represents wear. I hope you guys can see that. That's probably a really poor way of doing this, but you can kind of see a brown tinge in there, and that brown tinge is wear in the cylinder that allows for the burning gases to escape and go past. We don't want those. And that's apparent in all the cylinders. So even though the cross-hatching is there, maybe the rings have worn to the point where they're just not sealing very well anymore. Yeah, it's hard to say. But we actually, there's also evidence of piston slap down at the bottom. So that's probably been caused by the guy not warming the engine up and holding the throttle wide open when it's cold before the aluminum can expand and whatnot, and just wrecks things. Anyhow, I want to thank everyone for watching. I really appreciate it. And that was a teardown of a 115. When I throw this up on YouTube, feel free to like and comment. I would appreciate that, and subscribe. And again, thanks everyone for watching. Take care.